Hey, what is going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video of my sports, Gematria. In this video, I'm going to go over the NBA game for Saturday, July 3rd, 2021. I'm going to show you highlights of each side, and it's going to be up to you to determine who you think will win based on the numbers. I encourage you to add additional information on top of this if needed for you to feel confident in your own pick. And if for some reason you're curious to know how I'm picking in these games, you'll have to join my Patreon. My picks are always in writing, underlined, and italicized. For more information on that, please read the description of this video. I wish you guys the best of luck in your picks today. Let's go ahead and get into the game. We're looking at Bucks versus the Hawks, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 6. Milwaukee Bucks currently leads the series 3-2. So this is a do or die game for the Hawks and potentially an entry to the NBA Finals for the Bucks. They do have players to watch here, Giannis and Trey. They're still on injury report. Not sure if any of them was playing. However, if Giannis' knee bent was as bad as it looked, I can't imagine he'd be playing for the remainder of the season, honestly, if it was really as bad as it looked. Trae Young, I can see him coming back eventually if they do not lose. So Bucks versus Hawks. On this side of the screen, I have what I call my daily numbers, date numerology, Gregorian Hebrew calendar. And then on this side is what I call my game numbers. I have the away team up the top right here, their coach's record, their postseason record, their season record. In the middle here is the head-to-head record between the two teams. And then at the bottom is the home team, their season record, their postseason record, their coach's record. Up top here, have some information on the game. It's game 6. Bucks can close it out 4-2 like 42, or Hawks can even the score and make it 3-3 heading into game 7. This will be the 79th NBA playoff game for the season. Home team record here. Home teams in the playoffs can get their 44th win, or home teams in the playoffs can get their 36th loss. If this game does get pushed to a game 7, it will be the 80th NBA playoff game, and it would be played on Monday, July 5th, 7/5. And this is the 75th NBA season. And the only way a game would be played on Monday is if it's a game 7. Because if Bucks do beat the Hawks and they advance into the NBA Finals 4-2, it'll start on either Tuesday the 6th or Thursday the 8th. I think it'd be the 8th. So if there was ever a game for the 75th NBA season to be played on a day 7/5, 5/7, it might be July 5th, which means Hawks would have to force a game 7. But let's look at the Bucks first to close it out, because they do have numbers to close it out. If you saw my last picks preview video, I talked about how Bucks could sit on that 31 losses for the season, as Hawks sit on 51 wins for the season heading into game 6, which is this game here played on Saturday, which has 31 and 51 date numerology on the Gregorian. The Bucks coach, he did get his 418th all-time win for his career in game 5 heading into this game. 418 is just an anagram of 184, and it is the 184th day on the Gregorian. It's a day leaving 181 left in the year. 181 is the 42nd prime number. The Bucks can close out the series 4-2 like 42. And we're off to the NBA Finals, the Suns versus the Bucks. Both teams closing out their games in game 6 would be the narrative. This is the 79th NBA playoff game for the season. And speaking of 75, the number 75 and the number 79 are identical in all 4 base ciphers. They both sum to the number 53. This is the 3 seed versus the 5 seed, like 35-53. And they both sum to 145 as well. And Bucks could continue to sit on 145 all-time postseason losses as a team heading into the NBA Finals. We just saw the Phoenix Suns advance into the NBA Finals 145 for a postseason record. Heading into the NBA Finals, this being the 75th season, 75 sums to 145. Will this be in the 79th game of the NBA playoffs, which also sums or as identical basically in all three base ciphers. They both sum to 53. They both sum to 145. The 5 seed versus the 3 seed. Bucks can sit on that 145 heading in. And then you'll have two teams that face each other with close to similar postseason records. Both teams would be sitting on 145 postseason losses to start off game one. This is the Hawks' 379th postseason game as a team. 379 is the 75th prime number. So if I was smart enough, or if anybody out there who was smart enough to look at the all-time postseason games for the Hawks prior to the playoffs and just did basic math and just counted it up all the way up and say, hey, if they win at least, 12 games or 10 games, as they're doing so far, they've won 10 games. Maybe they could reach that 379 number, which is the 75th prime number in the 75th NBA season. And if you were smart enough to think of that beforehand, you probably were able to nail almost all of the Hawks games, knowing that they'll eventually reach 379 games postseason. It would be kind of tough because they did play, I think they played Philly to game 7. So that might have been a little bit tricky. But if you just hammered Hawks the entire time blindly, all the way up until maybe they got to their 379th postseason game, the 75th prime number, this being the 75th NBA season, I mean, it was probably mostly dog money, right? So if you had the foresight, if I had the foresight, or if anybody out there did, and went off of that, that's pretty cool. This didn't click until I actually pulled the numbers, for this game. If I would have just been smart and been like, well, they're only 16 games away from their 379th post. Maybe they'll stay long enough in the playoffs till they at least reach that. I know when I was looking at the Bucks and the Nets series, the Bucks coach, I think it was Game 7-4 between the Bucks and the Nets. And I was thinking well, I think that he's going to at least coach 75 postseason games in the 75th season, which they did. They forced the game, and they actually ended up winning. They actually ended up winning the game and advancing, of course, since they're playing the Hawks. But that was kind of my train of thought. At the very least, the Bucks coach would coach 75 postseason games in the 75th season. So if you had the foresight to see the 379 coming for the Hawks, you probably cashed out on them the whole entire time. I know I didn't. Hawks were one of the trickier ones for me this entire time. Suns were the best ones for me. The Hawks were the tricky ones for me. It's kind of funny how that works out. But anyway, yeah, Bucks can sit on that 31. Hawks can sit on that 51. 5 seed versus the 3 seed. 75th NBA season. 75 sums to 53. And 145. Bucks sit on that 145 postseason. 79th NBA playoff game. Also, speaking of 79, I don't know, maybe it's Bucks. Yeah, the word Bucks sums to 79. So that could play in the Bucks' favor as well, to sit on that 145. Then they would advance into the NBA Finals. They would become 12-5 for a postseason record this season in the playoffs, as they sit on 125 head-to-head losses against the Hawks. I can actually even mark this as a dark blue, the 125 and the 125, because 75 and 79 sums to 152, and 152 is just an anagram of 125, and then that 145, and then you have the 53. So it looks pretty good for the Bucks to close it out. Honestly, it looks really good for the Bucks to close it out. Hebrew Religious has 165 date numerology on the Gregorian, and Hawks could sit on 165 postseason wins with the loss to end their season. It is their 44th home game for the season. Their coach can get his 44th postseason loss for his career in the 71st postseason game for his career. The reason why that's relevant is 44 sums to the numbers 1, 44, and 54, and 79, or excuse me, not 79, 71 sums to 144 and 54. So it looks pretty good for the Bucks to close it out, honestly. And then Bucks coach, he would get his 44th postseason win as he gets his 44th postseason loss in Hawks' 44th home game. Atlanta Hawks sums to 193, 44th prime. So it looks really good for the Bucks to close it out. However, if Hawks were going to force a game 7, and there are numbers for a game 7, it's hard to believe though, because these numbers are really good for the Bucks. The 79, the 145. We already know the Suns advanced with 145 for a postseason record. So there's some similarities that we've already seen occur. And they can sit on that 31, that 51, the 125. They could be 12-5. The 44 home game. It's pretty good for the Bucks. They sit on that 165 date numerology. However, if there were to be a game 7, as I talked about, it'll be on Monday, July 5th, 7/5. This being the 75th NBA season. If we go to those numbers, 7/5, 5/7, however you want to look at it, Bucks could head into that game sitting on 57 wins for the season if they lose game 6. They'd be 57-32 for a season record heading into game 7 if they happen to have lost game 6. It'd be played on 7/5, 5/7. It will be a day with 33 date numerology on the Gregorian. They'd be coming in 57-32, and they could potentially be looking at that 33rd loss. Hawks would have even the series 3-3 like 33 heading into this game. A day with 33 date numerology. And Bucks would be sitting on 137 postseason wins as a team, which is the 33rd prime number. So again, that's not a good look for the Bucks. If this gets forced to a game 7, I'm probably going to be looking at the Hawks. Bucks look really good to close out game 6. And based off what I'm seeing right now, Hawks look pretty good in game 7 if they were to be able to force a game 7. It'll be the Hawks' 90th game in game 6, which is Saturday. 90 sums to 33 and 75, it being the 75th season. Hawks can even the score 3-3 for the series to force a game 7 that will be played on a day with 33 date numerology. And so then game 7 would be the Hawks' 91st game for the season, but it would be the Bucks' 90th game of the season in game 7. And again, 90 sums to 75 and 33. It would be July 5th where they could potentially get their 33rd loss as the season comes into game 7 tied 3-3 like 33. Hawks would be potentially looking to get their 53rd win for the season. This is the 3 seed versus the 5 seed. It will have 53 date numerology on the Gregorian along with 33 date numerology, 7/5, 5/7. They could potentially get their 53rd. Maybe that's what the 79 and 75 connection for the 53 is. Because again, 75 sums to 53, this being the 75th season. Maybe it's for that. And just like how Bucks can close it off in game 6 and sit on 125 all-time head-to-head losses against the Hawks as they become 12-5. Well, if Hawks win game 6 and force a game 7, they could then potentially get their 127th all-time head-to-head win against the Bucks as they become 2-7 postseason, like 127. So they have that same type of connection that favors the Bucks in game 6 potentially, if they just happen to force a game 7. If we go back to Saturday numbers, it'll be 7/3, July 3rd, like 73. 73 written out sums to 166. And Hawks could get their 166th postseason win on Saturday to force a game 7. And then Bucks coach would sit on that 418 on the 184th day. It is a day with 51 date numerology. Hawks could sit on 51 wins for the season, or 51 sums to 116, and Bucks could become 11-6, like 116 postseason this year with the loss. It will be their 89th game for the season on Saturday. And 89 sums to 116. 116. 255, 47. I think comes up there. But yeah, it'll be their 89th game, 116. They could become 11-6, 51 date numerology. 51 sums to 116. So Hawks are just 2 wins away from getting that 53rd. Bucks are 2 losses away from getting that 33rd. In their 90th game, Hawks can force a Game 7, which will be played on 7/5, July 5th. We know the number 90 sums to 75, and it also sums to 33, and the series would be tied 3-3, like 33. 33 sums to 156, and this was the same thing I brought up for the Milwaukee Bucks when they faced the Nets to force a Game 7. Milwaukee Bucks also sums to 156. 33-56. Milwaukee Bucks 156. So, yeah, that's about the gist of it. I mean, there's some other stuff here we can poke at and look at. Like Hawks, it's their 44th home game. Instead of their coach getting his 44th postseason loss, Hawks could get the 44th home win for home teams in the playoffs. And we know Atlanta Hawks sums to 193, the 44th prime number. So maybe that's the way that the 44 swings. They would sit on 35 home losses. Looks like a 5 and a 3, the 3 and the 5. Maybe that's part of it. So if basically if Hawks force a Game 7, it looks good for them to win it outright. There are numbers for the Bucks to lose. There are numbers for the Bucks to win. So it really just comes down to whatever you want. If you really think Bucks are going to close it out, you might as well just take them in Game 6 because it has good numbers for it. But it would be interesting to see an NBA game being played on Monday, July 5th, in the 75th NBA season. 7/5, July 5th. We'll see what happens. I wish you guys the best of luck. Hopefully this helps. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it.